Delighted to be with you today. I am President of National Fatherhood Initiative. Just a little preamble. I mean, a core part of what we are focused on is really trying to connect fathers to their kids heart to heart, and a big part of our strategy is really focused on skill building and really helping dads be the best dads they can be by helping them develop the skills they need in order to be good dads. You can imagine most of the resources out there to really focus on parenting are really designed for moms, and there's a real need. And some surveys that we've done nationally, when we surveyed dads and asked them to what degree were they prepared to be a father when they first became one, what we found was that nearly half the fathers that we surveyed said they didn't have the skills that they needed. And then we asked the question, to what degree did you feel replaced by mom or some other guy? What we found was that over half the fathers that we surveyed said they were replaceable by mom or some other guy. So you put those two together, it really speaks to a significant issue that we need to address, particularly around this notion of helping dads feel that they got the skills that they need in order to be good dads, which is a big part of being the kind of father your kids need you to be. Let me just start quickly with just a definition, at least from my perspective. It's not an academic definition because I'm not an academician, but it's a way I've kind of thought about this whole civil rights issue from a long, long time. For me, when we talk about civil rights, it really has a perspective of this notion of being able to basically self-determination. This notion that in a civil society we have an ability to sort of control ourselves, if we will, and to go after things, and we have an opportunity to make choices that will lead to success, happiness, fulfillment, all those types of things. And so civil rights to me is really about this notion of self-determination and the notion that the determined self, a rightly determined self, will not be denied these kinds of opportunities. This concept really came home to me, a couple years ago. I'd rented an old copy of the miniseries Roots. Many of you probably remember that. Some of you hopefully are old enough to remember that. It's 1977 miniseries by author Alex Haley. And it really was a story about, sort of him finding out that he was connected to a slave named Kunta Kinte. Well, anyway, I remember renting this video, and there's a scene in this video. There are a couple of scenes that sort of probably most people remember. One of the scenes that people remember is probably when Kunta Kinte was first captured, and they tried to turn his name to Toby, and that whole scene of being whipped to that point until he finally says, his name is Kunta Kinte. And that, I think for a lot of people, that's a scene a lot of people, at least when I was coming up, a lot of African-American people kind of remembered that scene and what that meant. But, there's another scene in that movie which I think actually sort of illustrates the point of the miniseries, and I think it leads to the the perspective that we're talking about today. There's a scene where Kunta Kinte's run away several times. He's caught, and each time he's caught, he's basically punished till finally they cut his foot off. And when they cut his foot off, he has an opportunity to meet Belle, who's is one of the other slaves, and she nurtures him and brings him back and gets him a job driving a carriage for the master because she knows he has this desire to run. So one day when he's putting the horses away, he hears a beat on a drum, and he said, well, "That's a slamming beat." And he hears this beat, and he follows this beat, and he finds there's an old African man there who also is a slave, and he says, "That beat, I remember that beat. It's the beat of my people." And it turns out that they were in tribes that were similar to each other, or groups that were similar to each other, and that's where they remember the beat. And the old man tells him, he says, "Listen, on a certain day, this beat is going to play, and that's going to mean that we're going to run." So he runs back and tells Belle about, "Hey, I saw this guy, he's got this slamming beat." And Belle says, "Oh my gosh, what?" And she says, "Well, my first husband, he got, he was killed, and then he takes Kunta Kinte's hand and he puts it on her stomach and lets him know that he's about to be a father." And so Toby says, he says, "Look," Kunta Kinte says, I'm not going to run, I'm not going to run." So anyway, you fast forward, the baby's born, and they have this tradition where they're going to take the baby out into the night air and kind of dedicate the baby. So Kunta wraps the baby up and takes him out into the night air, and as he's lifting the baby up into the air, what does he hear? The beat. Well, Belle hears the beat as well. She comes running out of the house. Kunta Kinte brings the baby down, he wraps the baby up, and you get this sense of what's going to happen. Belle runs towards Toby, Toby runs towards Belle, they meet in the middle. And she says to him, the drums, you ain't gonna run, is you? This is your home. And he stiffens up and says, this is not my home. And he is absolutely like determined, this is not my home. And she just kind of just melts into a puddle of tears. And he says, but this is my child, and we're a family. And he wraps his arm around her and walks her back in, and then begins to tell his daughter, who he's named Kizzy, the story of their history. Now, for me, that's an important point, because it is the Kizzy of Kunta Kinte that Roots is all about. It's his ability. Here's a man with no social rights, economic rights, no civil rights, but took the one thing that every man has the ability to do, this notion around self-determination. That's a civil rights movement right there. When you take that ability to stay. And I guess in terms of the work that I do, you know, the stats and all the other stuff, at the end of the day, you know, to me, it's about individuals making a certain decision that the government can't take from you, slave owner, nobody can take from you, because you can decide within yourself that I am determined to stay. And from my perspective, that's what this is about. So for me, so what does that have to do with the whole civil rights thing? For me, I really think that, you know, when you look at the stats, I mean, a part of this, certainly there are lots of other issues that are there. But I can tell you, as a guy who was a teen father who grew up with a single mother, heard the drum beats many times, that this notion of being able to stay and determining to do that is one of the most powerful things. And I think from a cultural perspective, I think that that's part of what the challenge is, that drum beat is not happening. See, my boys, I have 2 sons, they heard that drum beat from their father, because that's what I communicated to them, because it's difficult to be what you don't see. It's difficult to be what you don't see. And, you know, the stats, you guys know them in terms of the marriage rate and all those kinds of things. And I think it's really important that, you know, from a cultural perspective, that we're communicating this message, because it's a powerful one. We've got, frankly, a powerful message even in the White House. I mean, I think that, you know, this whole notion that, you know, the president being a different father than the one he had, well, it's because he's married to Michelle. See, if she was in the White House and he was in the outhouse, they wouldn't have that, he wouldn't have that connection. And I think that that's critically important. As I close up, just to return back to the Kunta Kinte story, I thought it was really interesting. There's a memorial in Annapolis, Maryland. It's the Kunta Kinte Alex Haley Memorial. And it's interesting when you look at the inscription on that, because it says, the strength and the perseverance of our ancestors, such as Kunta Kinte, teach universal lessons, including survival through faith, strength through family, and wisdom through forgiveness. Let me just pull out this strength through family. See, to me, from my perspective, it's this strength through family, particularly in the African-American community that I'm talking about, is really what got us through slavery and Jim Crow. And I believe sincerely that it is that strength through family that we must recapture again. Thank you very much.